Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. Right now you're watching our in-depth video review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but there's a reason why they want to differentiate from last year's model. First of all, it's sporting some significant upgrades versus its predecessor. First one being is going to be the higher resolution display it's packing along, newer processor of course, and on top of that, it has a new redesign as well. So it has a little bit more sophisticated appearance versus last year's model. And to top it off, you know Samsung, they're going to enhance the experience as well. And we're going to see that with the S Pen and the multitasking element we'll show you. So how does it all pan out? Will the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition prove to be a great hit, especially in the tablet market? We're going to find out in this review right now. This actually doesn't look anything like its predecessor, which is a good thing. The design of the 2014 edition of the Galaxy Note 10.1 has a little bit more of a sophisticated look to it. From the front, it looks just like a giant-sized Galaxy S4 smartphone and has some of the same similarities with its design characteristics. For example, the plastic casing and the home button below the display. But it's when we flip it to the rear where we find the biggest changes with its design. Instead of using glossy plastic, the Note 10.1 2014 edition now has this faux leather material and has this stitching around the sides, which gives it a nice accented look, something a little bit more business-like versus the glossy finish of the previous unit. And this time it's less prone to smudges or fingerprints. And there's also the silver trim bezel around the sides, which gives it a nice accented look. And overall, we're pleased by the updated looks, and it's something that we really appreciate. The original Note 10.1 had a disappointing display. That's probably attributed to the lower resolution screen it was sporting, which was rather low compared to its rivals at the time. But Samsung has remedied that here with the 2014 edition. Still 10.1 inches in size, but they upped the resolution to 2560 by 1600 pixels. So it's the same as the Nexus 10, giving it a pixel density count of 299 ppi. And with that, it just translates to one sharp looking display, a lot of detail, and it pops. On top of that, at first we thought that it was an AMOLED panel because when we look at it, colors are just vibrant and a little bit on the saturated side, but it's actually a super clear LCD panel, which is rather surprising just because it has some of the qualities that we tend to find with the AMOLED panels out there. But the nice thing about it is that it's pretty good when it comes to outdoor visibility. We're able to get a good amount of clarity. The viewing angles are okay at the widest. We kind of tend to see the color black turn a little bit on the milky side, but it's not a problem, of course, when you're looking straight on. It just has a nice brightness output and really has a nice glow to it. Below the display, of course, we have the distinguishable flush home button, similar to all the other Galaxy devices out right now. And surrounding it, of course, we have the capacitive back and menu keys. Meanwhile, above the display, we have its light sensor and its front-facing 2-megapixel camera. Around the silver trim bezel, we have all the stuff that we normally would get. For example, on the right side, we have the micro SD card slot. We have also the right speaker. The opposite side, we have the left speaker, so dual speakers. You have 3.5mm headset jack here as well. On the top edge, we have the dedicated power button and the volume controls a little bit on the flat side, and the responses are a little bit on the subtle side as well, so not as great of a responsive feel. And you have also an IR blaster, which doubles the tablet as a universal remote, so quite handy. And along the bottom edge, the only thing we have here is just the microphone and the micro USB port for charging and data connectivity. Naturally, we get an updated S Pen here with the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition. Still long, and this time around, the design of the S Pen kind of mimics the style of a pencil, so you kind of have the same shape. Still very comfortable. Pressure sensitive, of course, so depending on how hard or how firm you press it against the display, you can get either very light tones or very dark ones. So it's really nice if you like to draw. It's something you'll really appreciate with the device, and it's fairly accurate. And on top of that, it has the same technology as before with the Air View functionality. So basically, you could use the S Pen to actually hover over the display, and it works in many cases. For example, the web browser, so it acts just like a cursor, a mouse cursor, and for other things like in the gallery, you could actually preview photos by hovering over them. So overall, it's a nice touch, and people who are definitely more productive than others will grow to appreciate this the most with the device. Now, if you currently use any of Samsung's Galaxy smartphones, recent ones like the S4 and its variants, you'll be at home with the UI here that's running on the Note 10.1 2014 edition. It's running the TouchWiz Nature UX experience on top of Android 4.3 Jelly Bean. So it still has a somewhat cartoony look, all the widgets, a lot of personalization, of course. If you look at the notifications panel, we have access to a bunch of different connectivity features, which is great. Nothing out of the ordinary overall, but there are some new enhancements made over its predecessor that we'll talk about right now. Actually, the tablet shares many of the same features found with the Note 3 just because they're launching at the same time, but interestingly enough, there are some missions that really stand out. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff that it offers. So first of all, there is the Air View functionality that's enabled with the S Pen. So basically, like in the gallery here, you could hover over different elements, and from here you could get a preview. Now, it's also available in other things like the web browser and even in the calendar, so you get previews for pertinent information, but it doesn't have the same finger tracking technology that's found in the S4 and the Note 3, so you don't have that. In the web browser also, for example, it doesn't offer any of the air gestures, so you can't wave your hand over the display to actually do things like scroll in the web browser, but it does offer smart scroll, so you can actually use your eyes to actually scroll up and down in the web browser. Just like the Note 3, the Note 10.1 2014 edition has an updated multi-window functionality. So basically, it's superb when it comes to the multitasking experience. Not only do we have more applications available that are supported, but on top of that, we can have two of the same ones loaded on top of one another. So basically, if we wanted two web browsers, we have the ability to do that as well, which is nice. So you could also rearrange it, so you could change the size, you can make one longer than the other, and it's just a superb way of offering multitasking, whereas with the usual Android way, you have basically task switching. Another new thing is the My Magazine feature. So basically, it's a smart RSS reader, and it's accessible anytime by doing a swipe up from the bottom bezel. And from here, you could basically read all of the content you want. So you could switch between your personal, your news, your here now, and you could even associate your social networking accounts. And it's powered by Flipboard, so the UI is well done, and just a nice way of actually going through different content. The screen write feature with Air Command is fairly simple. Basically, it just captures a screenshot with whatever you're doing. And from here, you could draw, you could erase, you could crop it to whatever you want, and you could share it through your usual normal routes. And finally, we have the pen window feature with Air Command. This just takes the multitasking experience even further than just the updated multi-windows experience. So basically, for example, I now have the multi-windows support on. So we have one side being YouTube, the other side being a web browser. From here, we could use pen window to open some additional applications. Now, right now, it's very limited to what it offers. So you could have things like the calculator, alarm, YouTube, contacts, chat on, Hangouts, and the web. So all I have to do is just make a square box, and it's going to automatically layer that on top of everything else. So again, just really neat in offering us a more enhanced multitasking experience. And you could have more than one actually. So all you got to do is just, again, draw somewhere else. And then from here, I could say I want another web browser. I could do that too. And you have it. It might get a little bit cluttered, but it's just really nice that it has this feature. Seeing that it's heavy with the multitasking experience, the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition is powered by a Beefier processor, one of the latest ones here. It's a quad-core 2.3 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 CPU, and it's coupled with 3 GB of RAM and the Adreno 330 GPU. And when it comes to the performance, we're very pleased with what it puts out. Very smooth overall. Every now and then the home screen we could see just a little bit of choppiness or sometimes a delay with the operation. That's primarily attributed to the widgets, of course. But beyond that, it still works effortlessly with all the other functions. It loads up applications very quickly. You have some really nice, smooth, responsive movements with everything. And overall, we really can't complain about its performance. Naturally, the landscape keyboard is the best option for typing up messages just because it's more spacious than the portrait one. And on top of that, it's just a lot easier for our fingers to encompass the entire layout. Now with the layout itself, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a dedicated row for numbers, which is great. On top of that, we have access to some common punctuations directly from the main layout. And overall, it's a pretty good experience. Typing is not a problem, and you can tell it's pretty responsive too. With so much real estate to work with, the web browsing experience is very ideal here with the tablet. Screen size and especially the higher resolution makes the experience more worthwhile than last year's model. So pages load up very quickly, and of course the performance is just responsive. You have some fluid navigational controls and instant page rendering. On top of that, you have some other neat functionality with the stock web browser. You could actually scroll up and down with your eyes, which is useful. And of course, the S Pen really makes its worth again, just because you could hover over different elements with it, so it gives you that almost desktop-like feel. There's nothing really new with the music player that's on board with the tablet, just because we have the Google Play Music application and the standard TouchWiz music player. As far as the presentation, it's rather conventional by today's standards, but at least they're more than practical for what they're used for. Now, the tablet wields two speakers, left and right, so you have stereo support, but when it comes to audio quality, it's average, not particularly the best. The volume output, for something this size, we were expecting to have something a little bit more robust, but it has a little bit of sharpness at the loudest volume setting, which tends to make it a little bit irritating, and doesn't help that there are no really distinctive bass tones heard with it. You really can't go wrong with watching high definition videos on the tablet, just because with its high resolution screen, it really pops with a lot of detail, and the colors are nice and punchy too, which helps. Now with the S Pen, of course, there's some features associated with it. So for example, you could use some of the air view functionality to actually preview the timeline. And on top of that, you also have pop-up play functionality too. So you could layer it on top of whatever you're doing. And again, just shows the multitasking prowess of the experience. For a tablet, there's a lot of love with the shooting modes and manual controls that are offered with it. So of course, the majority of the real estate is reserved for the viewfinder. On the right side, you have your different shutter keys, and you have the button here for the different modes, and there's just a ton to choose from. So if you are a photo enthusiast, you'll really appreciate all that it has to offer. On top of that, there are also some manual controls that are available, so you could change things like the ISO, the resolution, and even other things like exposure. So it's really nice that it has this much control. We're not ones to use tablets for taking photos, but as a last resort, we gotta admit that the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition takes some really nice looking shots with its 8 megapixel autofocus camera. Of course, they're not as good as some of the high-end smartphones out there, but for a tablet, we're very pleased with the overall results. A good balance between colors, exposure, and even details. In lower lighting conditions though, you tend to see a hit when it comes to the details, and some more noise becomes evident in the shot, but overall, we really can't complain. It's still nice and sharp. Equally as acceptable as its 1080p high definition video recording quality. For a tablet, it's pretty good. You get again just that good balance. Details are nice and sharp, colors are natural, and exposure seems rather moderate. Nothing too intense or jittery. Dynamic range could be done better, but you can't really expect a whole lot from a tablet. The other thing we noticed, just with audio quality, it just sounds a little bit on the subdued side, and it's also worth noting that it also features image stabilization, so it does an okay job in maintaining its stability. So let's talk about price point, folks. The Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition starts at $550 for the base 16GB Wi-Fi model. Another $50 will grab you the 32GB version, which of course has a little bit more bang for the buck with its storage capacity. Now, some people might be still scared to pick up the Note 10.1 just because when you think about the Nexus 10, far cheaper than this guy, some people wouldn't hesitate to pick it up, but there's good reason why you might want to think about it. First of all, it's just a specs beast, just like the Nexus 10. It has that high resolution display, it has a cutting edge processor in tow, and of course, thin and lightweight design, so really can't complain in that respect. Another thing is that this device separates itself from all the other Android tablets out there with its S Pen functionality. No one does it better than the Galaxy Note 10.1, and of course, the multitasking element also has been enhanced to really give it an almost PC-like appeal. So if you guys want to learn more about the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 2014 edition, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.